You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog Movie Podcast. This is an evergreen episode of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by our two most loyal co-hosts. I don't know that they were our favorite co-hosts, but our most loyal co-hosts. On my right is in his Bell's Two-Hearted hat with three bells.
Just bells.
His three bells hat. Chase Peyton.
Yep.
Hey, buddy. On the left, we have the badass himself, Kade Koger. What's up, man?
How you guys doing?
Doing all right. What are we doing today, Dakota?
Today's episode features just the four of us, and there's no producer Chris today. He's off. He's on
assignment.
Hiatus.
Slacking.
Yeah. We're gonna figure out what he's been up to later, maybe. We are going to be talking about what brought us into the world of podcasting, how we each got our start, where we first found an interest with this, and I feel like a couple of people in this room might just be that Jeremiah forced them into it.
No, but even so, there's going to be they've got influences and things that make them do this, and they've improved on the craft. So I want to hear their stories.
You may listen to a podcast about the host's favorite podcasts. We're going to find out at the end.
First off, Dakota, how's the new baby?
Everything's going well.
Is it crying a lot?
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you, other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. Like, oh my God, Dakota, I didn't know they came out that slimy. Those pictures were, oh my God.
You mean what happened on the live stream?
Yeah. Yeah, the pictures. It was like the lunar video. Man, the Patreon people really got a treat.
Hey, Dakota.
Audrey is so good to us.
I heard boys, when you're changing their diaper, you have to do it fast because they pee on you a lot. Have you been hit yet?
I think it just depends on, when you're changing their diaper. It's not like little boys are just constantly peeing.
I don't know. I hear that cold air hits them, and they just
don't stand there with your mouth open.
Did your dad say that you pissed on him a lot?
Yeah, I piss on everybody, but especially my dad. What about you, Kate? Have you ever been hit?
It's like it's the same. It's like don't work cattle with your mouth open because they like to kick and sling shit everywhere. It's the same rules for kids.
You don't want to run your mouth too much.
Don't
stand there. Yeah, they'll pee all over you.
All right. Maybe wear a rain jacket. Speaking of the Patreon folks and what they are getting, we pump out all kinds of bonus content for the Patreon people. Whenever we do regular episodes, we give them a bonus episode every week. That's a 15-minute, 20-minute episode with the guests, maybe just the hosts, every week of who is on the show that week. We also give you access to show notes before the shows on Thursdays. We also give you different perks for different tiers that you sign up. Maybe that's a signed postcard from the host. Maybe that is a sticker in the mail. Or maybe if you are $50 or more a month, then we will give you a shout out at the front of every episode. And those folks are Craig DaCosta, Jonathan Phillips, Christy Avery, and of course, the always powerful Chris Lamb.
And now let's say if you're going back to high school, we recommend Chris Lamb. If
True.
you're going to park in Fort Wayne, we recommend Christy Avery.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to go get a drunk driving offense in Hawaii, we want you to go see Craig DaCosta.
Correct.
And if you're going to buy a brand new GMC or brand new Buick, go see John at Andy Moore.
That's right.
Fishers, or he'll hook up on the U side as well.
I have a question. Can you get a DUI while driving one of those like scooters you rent?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
I'm pretty sure
we will
just to be safe.
As you know,
I feel like 90% of the people who ride on those are drunk.
As you know, our official attorney in county is Sean Rao, Gallion and Rao. So I would defer to his advice on that.
I'll probably hit you up one day.
We went
Sean.
to Disney on Ice a month ago, and we there was a guy in the parking lot that had a bicycle with like a carriage on it, and we were late, so I paid the dude $20 to take us to Banker's Life, and we almost got hit by like 4 scooters on the way. It was wild.
Back in December, Sarah and I went to Denver, and she uses the scooter. She uses the Bird and the Lime scooters in Indianapolis from time to time. I have no scooter experience, and it was getting to be dusk, and she was trying to talk me into taking one of the scooters. And I was like, you're supposed to ride them in traffic. If you get one of those scooters, you're not supposed to use them on the sidewalk, even though people want to use them on the sidewalk. You have to go on the road. And I'm like, I'm not going on a scooter in the dark with bags. And I have to sit there and get an app and download it and get started and learn what I'm doing. And I don't know how to ride the scooter. I don't know how to drive the scooter. I was too afraid. Fear overtook me, Dakota. I wasn't doing it. Have you done any of the downtown scooters?
No, I have no desire to. It seems silly.
I've never done the downtown scooters. I just remember wiping out on the motorized scooters as a kid. So it's probably not best for me.
Yeah.
Probably
I broke
not,
my arm on roller skates back in the day. Before rollerblades were invented, we used to roller skate. And I fractured my arm roller skating down at Frederick's Skating in Messina, New York.
I never mastered the rollerblading. I just always went skating.
Yeah.
I was a loser. Like, everyone would pass me.
Could you skate backwards?
Yeah, with 4 wheels.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it with the blades.
The blades were supposed to be easier. Not for you.
Not for me.
Do you ever snow tube, snowboard, snow ski, any of that?
Yeah, I'll tube. I've never went snowboarding or skiing, though.
So I've tried all 3. Tubing, obviously, anybody can tube. But snow skiing and snowboarding, I always was better with 2 skis than 1 snowboard. That was impossible. I'm not real good if the ground's moving underneath me and I'm not strapped into a seat with pedals and a steering wheel. I'm real good in a go-kart or some sort of a car. But I'm much better. Have you ever done that, Kade?
No.
Nope. Dakota, you either?
I'd like to.
What?
Skiing, snowboarding.
I've never skied, but I've snowboarded.
How'd that go?
Fine. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when you strap my 2 legs together and I'm supposed to turn, that's death for me. But if I got 2 legs and I can independently operate them and I can lean in and out, I can ski. Skiing's, I mean, I'm not world class, but I can get down to the bottom of the hill in record time because slowing down is kind of a bitch for me, but I can get there fast and I can stay up.
I've never been anywhere that has a big enough slope for skiing, I should say. I've never been in the position to do it.
You never been to like Perfect North or anything?
No.
Oh man. I mean, we'll get you a babysitter and you and Audrey can go next winter. We'll have, it'd be great.
I'll do it next winter.
Yeah, that's perfect. Looking forward to that. We'll put it on the calendar. So this is a fun episode. We've talked about this just a little tiny bit. I think Dakota and I, when we've gone on other shows, have been asked about this, but we never really have had this conversation of how we got together and what got us interested. And I truly need to thank the Patreon folks because I don't know what the secret sauce is that makes folks support the show and like this show and appreciate the show. But I appreciate them very much. You look at a lot of shows and they flame out really fast. And we're up over 150 episodes now, which is phenomenal. And to me, this show has been like a golf game that pays for itself. You know, there's a lot of hobbies and generally on Thursday nights, this is what we do. And we get to hang out with our buddies and our friends and talk to interesting people. And, thankfully the audience has appreciated it. But I wanted to kind of take a little bit of time, and talk through amongst ourselves how we got here, how we developed the skills or the interest to sit here and talk into microphones and what happened. Because everybody jokes about a podcast is just where 3 or more white guys are gathered together. And I think that we're actually, there's more to it than that, right? So
sometimes
we'll start. There has to be beer too.
I've never developed any skills.
Chase has got his 4 Loko. That's that. I guess you need to have alcohol of some sort too.
Oh,
Does that say it's 12%?
Yes.
That's like 3 beers right there in that bottle.
I know, it's great. My girls get wasted off this. I haven't had it since college, but it's pretty good.
But you're back.
I'm back.
All right. Does this mean you're back in college? I mean, you're kind of in college.
It's kind of. I mean, I will be this summer. I mean, I'm going to school currently, but I'll be officially in college this summer.
Because you need the NFL Sunday ticket.
Yeah. That is the only reason. It isn't to better my life. It's so I can get the Sunday ticket without DirecTV.
All right. So let's get into this, Dakota. You independent of me had a dream or an idea that you wanted to get into this kind of a thing at one point. Is that correct?
I did?
Yeah.
I don't
you
remember.
talked about this. All right. This whole premise of this damn thing was based on you talking about this at one point, like 2 years ago. That was the start of this. So I won't come back. You can jump in.
Has it only
here.
been 2 years?
No, we're right at 3 now.
Yeah.
On the existence of this program.
When I first met Dakota, he was really into like YouTube videos.
Right. And
So
that was kind of what I thought is
It
that you were
wasn't
into.
It wasn't podcasting or like a show like this. I wanted to make YouTube videos of doing
To be
things.
communicating.
Of
right?
doing
Using
things
the
instead
internet
of
to
just
communicate.
sitting on my butt talking to people.
So-
We've never achieved that dream.
So you want to
Closest we got was Kade and Chris trying to annihilate each other at Kade's house.
I mean, we could. So here's the correlation: is that there's this line between the amount of time it takes to vlog and edit video and produce
Yes.
that content versus we give you a pretty good product on the podcast side, and it still takes. I mean, there's probably 2 hours of planning ahead of a show, the hour and a half, 2 hours to actually record the show. And then Dakota has, Dakota writes show notes ahead of time. That's time he spends. And then I have to spend another hour and a half on the back end writing show descriptions, audio editing, putting files together, putting things up on all the social media sides, uploading files. So all in, every episode we do of this show is probably 8 to 12 man hours to put a show out there.
Yeah.
And then that just grows exponentially. If you want anything edited, if you want any video edited, if you want to do the vlogging, man, that's
It's
next
mainly
level
just because
complication.
I don't really know how to do it. And any software that I have on my computer to do it with is just the free junk that you can find because we don't do it enough to spend money on something like that. So it just, that makes it harder. The video is weird because it is a lot more difficult than what anybody, if you've never done it before, it's way more difficult than what you think it would be. You think like, oh, you just, you splice the pieces together and it fits and then it's there. There's so much more.
And podcasting, it's long form. So we don't have to, if we were doing an actual radio show, you have to worry about a clock and you say, okay, I've got in a 60-minute show, now all of a sudden you have to break it up into 4 segments, right? 4 smaller segments and they have to be tight and they have to be between 7 and 9 minutes each or whatever. Podcast, we just do what we want. We've got the time to fill and we can just run. If you're vlogging, all of a sudden now it becomes more than just the time you set aside for the podcast. You have to find something interesting to do and you have to go cover it. And then all the people around you have to suffer through or be appreciative or accepting of, hey, we're going to take this trip or this thing we're going to do. We're going to go to Kade's farm and we're going to videotape what's going on in his farm today. And we're going to make it fun. And it could definitely be done.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's almost more all consuming. Those guys that do that.
100%.
I used to watch this guy on YouTube. I started when I was 13 and he did daily vlogs and he did it every day for 10 years. And like, I watched him religiously for like 4 years and he started out with his girlfriend and they got married. And like you watch his whole life and then they got divorced and then he has a new wife and now he has kids. He had brain cancer a couple times. Like it's crazy. Like like really, he's filmed his whole life. And I haven't watched every video. I probably haven't watched him in a year or two. But I think
Have you checked up on him since the cancer?
He's alive. I still get his updates like on my phone. But like he went from like
He's gone really, really quiet, guys.
when
I'm sure he's doing
when
fine.
he first started, he had like 1 million views an episode,
They
like in
kick
the
him off
100,000s, and now he's got like 15,000 every video. Like he's just dropped, but it's just because all his viewers have grown up.
They're not 14 anymore.
They're not
Now
14
they're 30
anymore.
and
They have their own
mortgages.
lives. You know,
Yeah.
It's just weird. I don't know how you could do that every day.
Yeah. It seems like a lot.
Like 10 years.
I'm not sure that my wife would have the patience for me.
That's why he had a
to do it.
second one.
Yeah. And that's probably the case is that he had to cycle through one of them to find one that was cool with it. So for me, this is, I don't know how I got to this, or how I had this memory. But in the last week or so, I had this vivid recollection of there's a tape somewhere and I'm sure it's truly horrible, but I think in fourth grade, I was given a school assignment that I needed to do some sort of a history documentary. And the specifics of it obviously have escaped me because it's been quite some time since I was in fourth grade. But the end result is that I did an interview, a sit down interview, not too dissimilar from this, with my grandfather and my great grandmother, talking about, it was local history. So kind of the same type of conversation we would have here on Boss Hog. I had that, in fourth grade. So it'd been 1991, 1992, sitting on my grandparents' couch with a VCR recorder, right? The video cassette, the full tape you put in the deal. And I'm sure we couldn't edit it, so it had to be horrible. It'd be one take or awful or, broken up into 1,000 different terrible deals.
A wooden kitchen spoon as a fake microphone?
No, I think we just sat on the couch and had the conversation. And I distinctly remember having gone back and watched it after the fact, and I was asking questions about things like the economy of Messina in the 1950s, right? So we're recording this in the 90s, and I'm asking about stuff that happened 40 or 50 years before that. So it was the oldest history that I could get a hold of as a 9-year-old with somewhat
us asking someone what it was like in the 80s,
right? Yeah, 70s or 80s, exactly.
Yeah, that's weird.
But it's the furthest back you could go, and in the limited resources of a 9-year-old. But I remember having those conversations and having some fun with it. And then it was, set up where I would just sit down and talk, and I had my list of questions, and they would answer me the best they could and try to take me seriously, which is the same thing that happens with our guests here now. But I never really thought of it as being formative for this, until the last week or so. And I said, man, that's actually remarkably spot on that I got from a fourth grade social studies assignment or history assignment.
So,
doesn't pay the bills, doesn't do anything for me, but it did.
Yeah.
It was formative to what came along. And then I got comfortable around a microphone when I was 16 or 17 announcing horse shows, and did that for about 15 years through 4-H. And then, got involved with the Weird Libertarians podcast and started dabbling around that, and then said, this is something we could take on the road. And then I kidnapped Dakota one night, and we've been here ever since.
I still think I'm still stuck on the fact that one of Cade's kids would be asking Cade's dad about what the economy was like in the 70s. Yeah. And that being the same as you as a kid that age asking your grandparents what it was like in
1954 when they were building the St. Lawrence Seaway.
That is insane. That just is totally mind-blowing.
Yeah, it would have been like your great grandfather is still living.
Yeah,
it would have been like your kids here in about 5 years asking him about what was going on when he was our age, right? 35 or 40 years old.
Yeah.
That is the same thing. So, and now the cool thing going full circle is that I'm this later this summer, I get to go back to New York, in June, and I'm going to bring Sarah there. So Sarah's going to get to see. I would love to.
I thought you were going to say, I'm going to impregnate Sarah there. I was like, wow.
So the plan as of right now,
deep family ties. It's a family tradition to impregnate your wife in New York.
Very good luck.
If we could just get our hands on that couch. So we're going to go back up there, and we're going to see the Seaway that they built that we were talking
that
about.
He was conceived on.
Yeah. That I'm pretty sure if I check where my parents were and the records of the time, something about the Oklahoma oil fields in my parents would be the in the early 80s, circus 1982 that would have gone down. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into this, and then obviously I had some political background, so this show started there. Is that for me? Is that note for me?
No, that you wrote that for me a few weeks ago.
That was months ago.
Yeah.
You were scribbling over there, so I wasn't sure what's going on. Making notes. So
what's it say?
Move closer. Move closer.
I thought you were a professional.
Yeah. It says move closer.
Anybody who's
we pass a lot of notes around here. All right. So how did you agree to this, Chase? How did this come about where you said, yeah, I'll come on your show, and then I'm just going to keep coming on the show?
Well, what happened?
How do you get any joy out of this?
I don't. See, like, so I hear you say, oh, yeah, people come up to me in public and say, oh, you're on the Boss Hog of Liberty.
It happened today.
I don't get that. I go to Kroger or Walmart and I just get dirty looks from old people. And that's how I know they know who I am.
Yeah.
So,
That sounds about right.
when this show first started, I was living in Florida at the time. And I think I saw Dakota post something about it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I started listening to it and I was like, oh man, he's big time now. I was like, he's got like 1,000 listeners. Like, that's pretty cool. And then I came back and I think I went to a party at your house and there was nothing but drama. And I met you and I was like, oh, this is the guy that thought I was gay. That's pretty cool. And then I thought you were gay too.
And yet neither one of us made a move on each other, Chase.
Well,
Weird. Okay. So
All right.
Chase has made some moves.
only a couple.
We have
So
talked
then
about
we-
you guys cuddling whenever you thought no one was watching.
We've wrestled
and
a
then
few times.
wrestling when you thought no one was
Listen,
watching.
Chase is one of the warmest and most cuddly men I've ever been around.
I'm a very good cuddler. So anyways, we developed a friendship and then you're like, hey, you should come on the show. And I was like, I don't think so. And then I came on the show and I can remember like my first few times on the show, I was so nervous to say anything. So I was trying to be super professional. I probably said like 10 words the whole show. I think Chris Lamb was on one. Or
Chris
not
Lamb's
Chris
never
Lamb.
been.
Jonathan Lamb.
But Chris
Yeah.
Lamb has been on, yeah.
He was running for what? Congress?
Yeah, he's running for
I was
U.S.
like,
Congress.
I was like, holy shit, this show's the big time. This is gonna get me my ticket.
I mean, you've got Liberty University credentials interviewing
I do.
people running for Congress.
I went there for 4 months.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how I got into it. It's not something I really ever wanted. I mean, I've always wanted to kind of do sports radio, but this isn't really the show for that. I mean, I really thought Barstool would have hired me by now, but I don't have any skills.
So your influence has been sports, right? That's what you listen to for fun. That you're generally
Well, I mean, I listen to a broad spectrum of things. I'll get into that later.
we allow sports. I'm wearing an Indianapolis Colts hoodie.
Yeah, I've covered sports before.
Right.
But I mean, most of your listeners are lame, so.
Point number one, they're our listeners. You're a part of the family.
That's true.
Point,
I love most of you.
Point two, there's a disclaimer at the beginning of the show that says this is about us and what we find interesting. So it could be politics, it could be sports, it could be comedy,
So
it could be crocheting.
At the time, I think I was listening to a lot of Mike and Mike in the morning back when the show was good before they got rid of one mic.
I don't think that show was ever good.
It was really good.
I'm a counterculture guy.
I listened to it
Steve
every day.
Zabin, Scott Lynn, and Steve Solomon.
So,
on Fox Sports is my
I was
my
like,
jam.
yeah, I'll do this show like once or twice, and then I'll get on with ESPN.
And they'll hire me, and that'll be
Yeah.
it.
Come the next Joey Molinaro.
Joey has had an amazing turn.
He's been blowing up.
Joey is getting millions and millions and millions back at way back at the NCAA title game. Twitter flew him out to sit in their booth and have some fun. And
He met Drew Brees.
he and Drew Brees cut a little thing. He's a
big shot now.
He's had quite the thing. I don't know if we could book Joey Molinaro on this show
He's
again.
he's gonna be some guy. I say, yeah, I did a podcast with him once.
Yeah. Have you met Joey?
Yeah,
You
he was at
partied
your
with
wedding.
Joey. You were at the wedding. You equally tried to not catch my the garter.
Yes.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite pictures. At all of my photos, Dakota, on that I take on my phone, the Google sends them to the cloud, and then they get stuck on the TV on the Chromecast. So it cycles through, and there's an incredible amount of pictures of Dakota and I on there because every week we take back 5 pictures, and they all go up there, and they all end up in the cloud. But yeah, that picture. There's the picture of you and the other boys at my wedding, not wanting to catch the garter.
Yeah, I still do that at every wedding I go to.
Yeah, one of these times, man, your number's going to be up.
I can remember. I think it must have been. It was one time we were in Nashville, and I think it was Dakota's bachelor party. I don't know because you weren't puking on the street. I don't think.
I'm trying to remember if a trip to Nashville I didn't puke on the street.
And I think I had been on the show once or twice, and I was like, you know what, guys, I kind of want to be a villain. I kind of want to be the guy that says things that people hate. And Jared was like, "Oh no, man, no one could ever hate you. You can't be the villain. That's just not you.
You're too lovable.
You're too lovable." I was like, "Hold my beer."
And then the next thing you know, you're drinking Four Loko and eating Sour Patch Kids right here on the show.
Oh yeah, you're just lucky I don't have a dip in my mouth right now.
We've already had that show.
That was a host only show. I mean, it wasn't like a Congress person was sitting across from me.
Yeah.
Kade, what about you? What's influenced you? Why do you think this is cool? And
I probably started as a fan of like YouTube, just watching things on YouTube, and I would say that mainly started with gun culture stuff. I was always following different people through the gun industry that I look for gear reviews and training and things like that. I know Sage Dynamics is a big one. That's where I get most of my firearms training through still. I was a big fan at one time of like Iraqi veteran 8888 and a few other Such and all them other guys that do all these gear reviews. And then that is what kind of led me to podcasts, because I think one day I ended up watching a Joe Rogan video like on his YouTube. And then I realized, oh, this is free through an app that's already on my phone. And then I got in just to the world of podcasts. And then during my work day, like at work, I would just have my earphones in listening to podcasts. And that was where I kept listening to Joe Rogan. I found Jocko podcast and Your Mom's House and all these other comedian type podcasts and things. And believe it or not, I really don't listen to any agriculture type podcasts. I probably should look more into those, but
maybe you should start one.
Yeah.
How many good agriculture podcasts are there?
We do
There
have,
can't be
we
many.
do have East Central Indiana's favorite tractor podcasts.
We are heard in combines all over the country.
So
But that started because
don't cut into our base.
I'm anti-farmer, and not you, Kade, but just the ones that are in
the
my way
small
on the
farmers.
road.
You're anti-small farmers. Cade's a big farmer.
Yes.
There you
So,
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not as big as he was 5 years ago.
But I think we somehow there was a project that me and Jeremiah were included on, and that's where me and him kind of started being friends. And then I added all you guys just through the podcast listening, and I started listening to your podcast and just knowing that it was local and it was interesting. And then one day we had something where you guys came out and shot guns at my house and ended up inviting me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we had and we had you come on the podcast, and then we immediately made you a co-host.
Hey,
Yeah, I don't know if you guys were looking or not, but that's how it happened.
remember when I first came on the podcast, and every time I would drink a beer, I was like, "Oh, you got to pour it in a glass." I was like, "If people see this, they'd be pissed." I've came a long way.
No fear anymore.
Yeah.
Hey,
You were
Kade,
scared that your grandpa would see you drinking.
now I don't have to worry about that.
That's dark.
That's really depressing. Okay,
Wait. Let's make it worse. Why don't we have to worry about it?
because he has dementia and cancer.
Oh man, that one's really rough. So sad.
It is. It's very
That's
sad.
really sad.
He's doing well though.
That is good.
He got through chemo. He gained like a bunch of weight. Most people lose weight. He gained weight.
Hey, there you go.
It's weird because he has dementia, and you'd think he'd like. Most people are like, "Oh man, I have to go through chemo. I have to go through radiation. Like this is going to be bad," and they get sick and they lose a bunch of weight, which is really sad. But like for some reason, like since he has dementia, he doesn't realize it, and he looks forward to going.
That's just something to do.
It's just something to do. Like
Yeah.
he's, like I said,
So I
he
guess
eats
that's
all the time now.
Going to the doctor.
Blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
really weird. But okay, Kade.
Shoot.
Moving on.
Boy, that was fun.
So I watched a guy on YouTube growing up. His name was FPS Russia.
Uh-huh.
He shot a bunch of guns. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's very famous.
Yeah, I like him. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if he's really Russian. But he just shot a lot of cool guns, and I like it.
He got in a lot of trouble,
Did he?
legal trouble.
I don't know if he's a good guy.
Yeah. I forget what it was for, but yeah, he got into a lot of legal trouble, and they like shut everything down and like excommunicated him from everything.
Probably not a good guy, but I enjoyed his videos.
Yeah, they were always fun to watch.
Freedom
It's kind of
isn't
like
always
Demolition
free.
Ranch. You ever watch that?
Yeah.
If you liked
Demolition Ranch
FPS,
is
if
cool.
you like FPS Russia, look at Demolition Ranch. He does
Okay.
basically the same stuff.
Demolition Ranch is a cool channel.
Yeah.
I've never heard of FPS Russia, but I'll have to check it out.
I mean, I watched his videos probably
It might still be
five or 10 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a long time ago. It might have been before I got to college.
Yeah. It's been 5 or 6 years now that he's been in trouble. I think
Yeah.
I don't know if he's in prison or I think he's out now. I don't know.
Oh, so he's probably not a good dude.
Yeah. I think they killed his dog and everything. Yeah. The
Oh,
ATF came
shit.
down on him
The
pretty hard for
ATF,
some-
the
Well,
Alphabet Boys.
he had cool videos. You should watch them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of agencies that'll kill your dog.
The ATF, you don't even have to be in trouble.
It's
The
probably
the
my favorite
ATF
Facebook
enjoys
page to
it.
watch.
Hillary Clinton just kills
They
you.
get so roasted on Facebook comments, the ATF.
The ATF,
Every
yeah.
time they post something, the comments are just a shitstorm of people roasting them.
About killing
It's
dogs.
great. Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it be terrible to work for the organization that has to deal with all of the vices? Alcohol. Well, we like that.
Would it
We're
be
gonna regulate
terrible
it.
to work for an organization that shouldn't exist?
Hey, try this one.
Watermelon. I'm going to be doing the watermelon crawl, buddy. Four Loko.
I might
Watermelon.
like that one better.
I'm going to go use a restroom.
Warning.
Where that hits me.
Warning. Contains alcohol.
Hey, we ID.
Oh, yeah.
They did ID me.
Did you card me?
They carded me.
Oh, my God. That's like a Jolly Rancher.
It's
That
pretty
is-
good, right?
It is so tart.
And it
And
doesn't kill
so
you
much-
anymore.
So much like a Jolly Rancher.
I gotta say, I drank the one and I'm kind of feeling it.
Oh, I can imagine, Chase.
What kind of alcohol do those have in them?
I'm not sure. The good kind.
Who even sells these? Are these gas station production? Is that where these come from?
So, Kade, you do jujitsu, right?
Uh-huh.
You ever they call it rolling? Mm-hmm. You ever roll with people that just smell really bad?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes.
Sometimes it's Kade that smells really bad.
Well, I'm actually pretty good about it. I'm pretty self-conscious about it because at work, when we're working with cattle and stuff and I'm knee-deep in manure all day, it kind of gets on your skin. So when you sweat, your sweat smells like manure. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty good about getting home and getting a good hot shower before I go rolling with anybody.
Do you do the competitions?
Yes. Yep.
Have you ever thought like, oh, I have a competition this weekend. I'm not going to shower the whole week.
Yeah, I'd probably give you a little bit of an edge.
Probably would.
I don't think I'm going to do that, but there's probably people.
Your
that do
wife
it.
would probably hate it.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. And most of the time, it's people that just don't wash their gi. I don't know if it's always them, but if you're sweating in that thing, I mean, when I go to class, I normally do 2 hours of instruction, and then there's an hour of just straight rolling.
Yeah.
And it's 5 to 6 minute periods for a whole hour long. And I basically don't take any breaks. There's maybe a 30-second break in between.
Does it ever get sexual?
But no, not at all.
Because I'm scared like I would be doing it.
No.
And then I pop a random, you know what? And it'd just be awkward. I don't think I could go back.
No, and I mean, guys roll with girls. I mean, there's girls in class that you roll with.
Oh,
and
that's the way God intended it.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's never been any issue where it's been weird or sexual. Not for me anyway. I can't say that's probably the same for everyone.
Do you think maybe Chase could accidentally make it weird?
Chase would for sure make it weird.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick to playing video games.
I still feel like that's going to be an episode. I'm gonna take you guys to class with me, and we're gonna see how you guys like it.
So Four Loko.
I just want to pick the skinniest kid,
Is
and
a
I'm just gonna
malt-
lay on top of him.
I don't know. You probably still get wrecked.
Probably. No, I see you posting stuff about it, and I was just wondering. I was like, man, I wonder if he ever rolls with stinky people.
Oh yeah. It's just like nasty sweat smell.
That's intense. So I'm going to do one of our trademark transitions here.
Oh, hold on, Dakota. I got a question for you. You're in the construction business, kind of, right?
You're almost a real man.
Yep.
You ever have a problem with your boots smelling really bad?
You've been talking about this for quite some time, Chase.
Yeah.
You've been concerned about this.
Your girlfriend already asked me what you can do.
Well, I've never
to
talked
remedy
about
this.
it on the show.
Your girlfriend already asked me what I did to remedy this because yours have been such a problem.
I was probably drinking a whole bottle of wine.
She doesn't even live with you yet.
What do you do?
I have those little deodorizer balls that you get at shoe stores, or you can get them on Amazon. Pop them in there at nighttime.
I guess I don't smell my boots.
Mine are bad.
They overpower everything.
Really?
Like
if you leave them in a room, it'll stink the room up.
if I take them off at all, it's like. And okay, so I'll give you an example.
Now at this point, Chase just showers in them.
Mine. The only reason I smell mine is because I work out in the morning. My boots go in my gym bag, so I can change into those clothes after I get done working out. So if they smell horrible, then they'll stink up my clothes for the rest of the day too.
So I'll give you an example. My boots smell so bad. All right?
How bad do they smell?
I'll just tell you guys, I
Scale of 1
shower
to 10.
daily. I wash my feet daily because if I didn't, you would smell them.
Like
I was at work today.
When you wash your feet, do you like sit down on the floor in the tub and put your foot up high and scrub on it with? What do you?
No,
what do you mean?
I fully scrub. I go in between the toes. Like I gotta get them good. Or
Is
they're
there a
gonna
loofah
smell bad.
involved?
Oh yeah, like the rough side too. Like both sides of the loofah involved.
Have you tried maybe a little more abrasion? Like you bring in the Dremel tool with the cutoff wheel and just start rubbing it up and down on the.
I haven't done. I probably should. I thought about getting one of those. Just the feet like washers or something, I don't know.
I've never seen Chase so desperate about anything as he is.
I'm at work today, and a guy's been over beside me, fixing something in a panel, and he goes, "Who farted?" And I go, "I am so sorry." I didn't say so sorry because then I would sound like a bitch. But I go, "Oh, that's probably my feet." I was like. My boots smell really bad. How do you guys get? I'm trying to get tips.
You need to take the insoles out and you need to wash them.
Yes, I've thought about that.
Okay, yeah, do that, and then you need to also get the deodorizer balls.
So what I've been doing,
but you need to make sure if you don't wash the insoles first, then it's not.
It's not going to
do
help.
anything.
What I've been doing is I've been leaving them out in my garage.
It's Pigpen. I always blame Linus, but it's Pigpen. You're the Pigpen of.
Get some good socks that
of
are
the job site
that are real snug.
Yeah, and mind you, I shower daily. At least if I'm working.
Have you thought about maybe a second shower? At your
might
lunch
have
break,
to.
you join the gym and run over to the Anytime and be like, "Hey guys,
I'm in a different area every time.
Anytime Fitness."
So
they're everywhere.
I'm at Anytime Fitness.
Yeah, so go find an Anytime and go shower at lunch.
And by at Anytime Fitness, I have a membership, but I rarely go.
But you can shower there.
I could.
No, I talked to our mutual friend Kyle at the gym the other day, and he said, I talked Jason to getting a membership, but he never comes, so I feel bad for talking to him.
I spend
his money.
I spend like $50 a month for nothing.
That's what he said.
Is that the only thing you spend money on that you don't use?
He said he feels bad for talking you into it, and now you waste all your money.
So anyways, my boot routine.
Do you want a membership to my home gym?
I might need one. I probably won't show up.
I'll take your money.
My boot routine.
Okay, yeah, it's only 20 to him.
You're
so
the
now you'll be
perfect
at
member.
70.
If you guys help me talk him into it, I'll give 25 back to the show.
That's perfect.
My boot routine is I leave them outside or in the garage, and then when I put them on in the morning, I spray them with sprayable deodorant.
Maybe you should do it before you put them on.
I do.
Like
I've
when
done
you take
that.
them off.
I do, and it works.
I put like deodorizing powder in them.
Yeah, I
before
thought
the
about
workday.
How often
Yeah,
do you
that
replace the
works.
insoles?
I haven't replaced the insoles yet.
Maybe throw out the old insoles
Yeah,
and put
probably
some
Well,
new
just
that's
insoles.
the
insoles.
next step. That's
Also-
the next step.
I would have done that months ago.
Take out those insoles. Go to like a CVS or Walgreens. I think even Walmart. They have the custom Dr. Scholl's stand thing where you stand on the sensor and it tells you what insole to get, and you need to get those because those are the best.
Okay.
Odor eaters. There used to be a product sold called odor eaters.
I think that's
would
still
work
a
on that.
product.
It was.
I think that is the brand that makes the deodorant balls.
Yeah. So well, thanks for calling in with this question, Chase. This is good. This is good radio. I've always had Dr. Scholl's.
There's a lot of
insoles.
working people out there that listen to us, and some of them probably have the same problem.
Dang, my feet stink. Thanks, Chase.
You're welcome.
And also, if your boots get wet during the day, make sure you take them home. Like, even if you gotta just beat the hell out of your drying machine, make sure that those puppies are bone dry before you wear them again. For real.
Do you prefer the laces or the slip-ons?
Laces. Slip-ons are horrible. They're horrible for your feet.
I
for
like
your ankles.
both, but currently I'm wearing the laces.
The slip-ons are great because they're so easy to put on and so easy to slip right off. But man, they're just bad on your feet. So bad.
So I got a new sticker for my helmet. I was pretty proud of it. I didn't earn anything. I just went to the convention my company has every year. But I did make it in the video that they showed everyone.
You're a star.
It was very embarrassing. They had me on there saying, I had a piece of strut in my hand, mind you.
Yeah,
going,
strut.
We are electric. And I had the cheesiest fucking smile on my face.
We're gonna need a copy of that for the show.
It was just embarrassing.
That is hilarious. A piece of unistrut?
Yeah.
Was it the big strut or
it was
junior
the big strut? It wasn't junior strut. I knew what I was doing.
It would have been funnier if it was junior strut.
And they played it multiple times. And everyone that works for my company was at that convention. And then what made it worse was I had the same shirt on.
Do people know you yet?
You had the same.
The first day of the convention, I had the same shirt on that I had in that video.
So everyone immediately recognized you as the guy for the video. Oh, that's so good. That's hilarious.
It was awful.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing I want to, we're all consuming other media.
Oh, yeah.
The media I've consumed has changed a lot. Other than sports, I really don't watch any TV. Like, very difficult to get me to catch the news. Actually, on the local news, almost non-existent. Regular, straight up, like scripted TV shows on TV. I think I'm still watching Better Call Saul, and that's about it. So it's when it comes on the air. There's probably 5 or 6 shows that I'll actually go watch on demand, and that's literally almost it. And then live sports. That's all I do for TV. Otherwise,
I binge watch shit all the time.
It's YouTube, but it's a binge show, so it's time shifted. It's not regular cable, right? So, and I will binge watch YouTube. I will binge listen to podcasts. That's where my eyes have shifted to. And I'll watch a channel, and I don't know if it's because of this show or because of narrowcasting now, but I'm definitely trying to support or find myself supporting local content creators or niche content creators more than I am saying, oh yeah, let's just go watch this thing that NBC made, right? Is that the way you look at stuff now, Kade, as well?
Yeah, I think so. For sure.
And I think that more than the cable cutters or the cord cutters that are changing the way media is done, I think that behavior has changed it. Not that we're just watching in a different way. It's that we're watching different stuff, and we don't necessarily want the big national show.
It was a lot of folks who started cutting the cord before everyone else and needed something to watch. So independent content creators had a whole market that they could reach. That was the only media that they could consume. The stuff that was on YouTube, on Facebook Watch, and places like that. Where, I mean, now every other giant media outlet has got their own platform to stream from and their own streaming service. But 9 times out of 10, the stuff that you see, content creators on YouTube, whether it be huge people like Rhett and Link, or even smaller folks like us, is a lot of times more, I don't want to say it's better, but it can be more valuable. You get more out of it.
It's more detailed, and it's less, I don't know if it's less filtered or it's more honest, right?
So what's your favorite YouTube channel?
So I've been, right now, if I'm just watching, there's like 3, this is really silly, right? Like this is where you feel as naked and exposed as you can be, because they are so niche and so stupid and so silly, right? I've really been watching, and I've just found this in the last little while. Dude's got like 1 million subscribers, and I'm not saying that I watch this constantly, but I've definitely binged a few nights here lately. A guy named Hoovy's Garage. I think he's in Kansas City. And he basically buys a total junk car and then resells it, or he fixes it up. He brings it to his mechanic and the mechanic fixes it up and he rings up the bill and says, yeah, it's going to be $6,000 to fix this piece of junk. So he'll go out on Auto Trader or something and buy the absolute cheapest Cadillac Seville from 2000 that he can find, or whatever it is. So he's got a Hummer. He's got a GMC Typhoon in teal, which was this ridiculous, basically an S10 or S15, but souped up with turbocharger that would blow away any sports car of that era. Just all kinds of crazy junk. And then it'll be barely running or barely functional. He'll buy an old Lincoln, and the dude's got probably an 8-car garage with lifts in it. So he probably has 24 cars. He's got a DeLorean, and they all have problems, right? He doesn't spend more than $5,000 on any of them. And to me, it's like, it's the redneck rich thing. Like, it's hilarious because he'll go out and he'll buy this, one of the cars he has was something that Warren Buffett had purchased in 1980. And it came down to him. So I was on Facebook not too long ago, looking at Marketplace, looking at, some SUVs, and the same kind of thing happened. I found a Ted Nugent owned, Chevy Suburban 3/4 ton, and they wanted like $2,400. I'm like, I tried to send it to our boy Mark Brim and be like, Mark,
yeah,
I know this isn't a square body, but you need to own Ted Nugent Suburban. You know, John Voight's Chrysler was a thing on Seinfeld. Yeah, you've got to have the Suburban. So that's one that I've gotten into. And then I also, more than anything else, I like stuff. I like to learn. I don't sit there and watch just
nerd.
Junk. Yeah. I think we all, if you're listening to a podcast, you probably have this core in you. If you're a part of a podcast, you'll go, I call it going down the rabbit hole. So I will do that in whatever I'm into at the time. If it's fishing, I'm going to watch guys, how they fish and how, the tools and the technology they have.
It hasn't helped you yet.
It does not help, but man, my boat floats. Camping, right? Like the camping thing. I've learned an awful lot about our campers and different things you can do. Hitch systems, all of that by watching those. And it's painful. Like, I know it's painful for those around me because I'll sit there and I'll watch one video and I'll watch this one too. Or you want to learn about places, or if you're going to take a trip, or, we've got a cruise that occurred and I want to know about the places and the opportunities that are there. So you'll say, I'm going to go to San Juan. Let me watch some videos and stuff that's available in San Juan and see what's there. So I will spend my time researching that, and it's educational. It's the same kind of junk that the government used to force on you, and educational program on a Saturday morning, right? Same thing happening, but you do it yourself, and it's from independent content creators. So I'd imagine you guys all have your own confessions of the stuff you watch too that's not mainstream.
Chase,
like YouTube?
Yeah.
YouTube, I mean, I don't watch a lot of YouTube anymore. I mean, I'll hit a couple Rhett and Link videos every now and again. I'll go on like a hot streak where I watch their videos for a couple weeks, and then I go not watching them for months. Growing up though, I watched them a lot. I mean, almost every video. They were a big part of my teenage years. And then the other one was the guy I talked about earlier, the one that vlogged his whole life. I watched almost every video up until I went to college. I mean, we're talking about every day. I mean, it's crazy. Like, you see him go through his whole life. It's weird to think, like, when he started making those videos, he was like 23. Now I'm like 24 and he's in his mid 30s. And it's just,
he's still doing it.
Well, he makes videos like multiple times a week, but he doesn't do it every day now. But he has the Guinness Book of World Records for like most consecutive videos in a row. But it's just weird because you literally see his whole life through.
I feel that way about Rhett and Link.
You see him progress, Yeah.
Whenever I was in high school, Rhett and Link had just started out, and they were just writing goofy songs and
then doing commercials for people.
And then you watch them pack up all their stuff to follow their dream of having a YouTube channel and move to California, and then they get their own TV show.
Yep.
And now they have a daily show that they put out, and now they're in their 40s.
Yeah.
So it's really weird.
With kids.
And I've been watching them since I was 13 for 10 years, and their content has morphed with time as they have seen how the consumers want to have their videos put out. And it's interesting to see how much they've changed that, but it's still very good
YouTube's
content.
different because like most people who make YouTube videos at least started out as regular people. You know, like you see a movie or you see a show and like they're actresses or actors. But like Rhett and Link, they were engineers when they started out?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Just regular people.
Regular people. And now like they're making a lot of money off their videos. And like
It's their only job.
It's their only job. It's just, I don't know.
But yeah, I think I consume a lot of YouTube. I follow one guy. His name's Jimmy DiResta, and he is he's a guy that like something that as I've gotten into making things and just and like trying my hand at different like furniture making and different things, because I've always been someone who liked to tinker, and that's just, my dad was the same way, so I was kind of raised in that atmosphere anyway. This guy is a professional tinkerer, and like if a bar or some other establishment wants some custom tables made, they need beer taps made, or anything like that, then he's kind of the guy that they go to, and he makes these videos of making the stuff. And so I watch that, and then I kind of like how you were talking with the campers and things. I watch that and go,
I could do that.
Well, that's the kind of tool that I need in my shop if I want to do something like that. So this is how this is made. It's a very similar, but I watch his videos like every night before I go to sleep. That's pretty much the only person I watch on YouTube now.
There's a couple more that I've not just on the YouTube side, but also on the podcast side. The Marshall Pruitt podcast, I'm a pretty regular contributor to his question and answer every week. That podcast has been around for 3 years. He just crossed over 4 million downloads in that 3 years. In May, he was at 3 million, and now he's at 4 million. So in 7 months, he picked up another million downloads. And that's in the racing world. Dinner with Racers is another podcast that I've watched that actually Jared Burcham, one of our patrons, got me into last May, and they got picked up, and they're on Amazon Prime now. So their podcast is now videotaped and put on Amazon Prime, and then they'll actually animate portions of it because they do interviews. They sit down, they have a conversation with somebody over dinner, and then they'll animate. So if the guy's talking about something, if he's talking about a plane ride, all of a sudden they'll animate the characters, and they'll be in a plane ride, and they'll be describing what he's describing. They'll animate. Very, very neatly done. But you, Kade, any that you want to confess, or are you going to keep them all tight to the vest?
I don't really follow a whole lot of different YouTube channels as close as I used to. Like I said, it started with kind of gun industry stuff. I still keep up with a lot of that. Aaron Cowan from Sage Dynamics, he does a lot of really good gear review videos that there's a lot of good information if you're trying to buy any current mainstream type gun gear and things like that. There's a lot of good information to be had there. Bomar Bow Hunting, Josh Bomar. He's a pretty good guy. He films all of his hunts, mostly whitetail deer, which is what I'm interested in too. And then he'll show.
Well, I mean, mule deer doesn't get you much good around here.
Well, he just moved out. I want to say to Iowa. They just moved out west, so he's got a lot more options now. But he does like tips and tricks for like bow hunting, different gear and stuff for bow hunting, and then he also does like nutrition. He does some bodybuilding and kind of things in the weight room and stuff like that to see. So kind of it combines both of those things that I like a lot. But yeah, as far as YouTube goes, that's pretty much where, unless I need to learn something or I'm trying to fix something, I go to YouTube, and typically somebody's got it.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a video of what I'm messing with.
Yeah.
That is the most amazing part of living when we do now is that you can have, hey, I've got to change this on a vehicle, or I want to,
I've used that multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
2 more that I have real quick before we finish off. So I don't know how I discovered it, but Movie Sins. Are you guys familiar with that YouTube channel at all? This guy will sit there and watch a video and look at all of the things that are horribly wrong. So it'll be like everything that's wrong with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or whatever, or Forrest Gump or whatever. You go across the list, Back to the Future, And I could sit there for 3 hours and watch those, where it's a movie you've seen inside and out, you know every bit of it, and the guy just calls out everything that's wrong, quote unquote, wrong with that movie. That's hilarious.
I always liked the Mystery Science 3000 theater where they'd show all the B movies, and they would sit in the front and then make fun of it the whole way through. It always made the movies better.
It's perfect. And then the last one that I had just sitting here, there's a guy in Louisville who's a dealer for Chevrolet. So he's one of the salesmen.
Actually, it's Louisville.
Okay, in Louisville, in Louisville, and he's called the Chevy Dude. You follow him there, and the Cadillac, or not Cadillac, the Chevy Corvette 8 is out, and that's had massive push here lately. But that guy will go through everything about buying a car, what to look for when you're trading a car, when you're buying, financing it, what dealers should be doing, how you should be treated right, and then a lot of stuff on the new tech and the new vehicles that are coming out. So. All right. With that, we're probably at the point where we need to be wrapping this up. Chase, is there anything that we needed to talk about that we left out? You feel good? Scorekeeper over here.
I never feel good. I always have a couple questions. Kade, for everybody, what are some of the current podcasts you listen to the most?
Oh, for sure, Joe Rogan. It feels weird to say that because I feel like everybody says that, but it is one of the most listened to podcasts that's out there. Probably past that, I really like Your Mom's House with Tom Segura and Christina
I like that
P.
a lot. Have you heard what is it? Two bears,
one cave. Yeah, I listen to that one a lot. That's always
I
a good
haven't
one.
heard that one yet.
It's with
pretty
Bert
funny.
Kreischer and Tom Segura. I like The Fighter and the Kid, Brandon Schaub.
Okay.
And Brian Callen. They're pretty good together. I like Theo Vaughn.
Theo Vaughn's great.
Yeah, this past weekend. And then he's also got one with Brendan Schaub where they go together, and it's called The King and the Sting. And it's pretty good too. They go back and forth with they're both just funny people.
Yeah.
So it's fun to listen to those guys go back and forth. I actually like Crime Junkie a lot. They go through like different crime scenes, and it's Indianapolis based. And it's these two girls that go through different crimes and murders, and they talk about serial killers and all kinds of good stuff. It's a really good one. I binged listened that one through Harvest, just about every day through Harvest. I listened to those episodes, so they were pretty good.
What about you, Dakota?
It's on my phone right now on my podcast player. There's a lot. I listen to quite a few. I of course listen to Joe Rogan.
I forgot Jocko podcast too. That's
I listen to Jocko
like him.
podcast. I listen to Time Suck, which is Dan Cummins' podcast. I know that there's a few people who listen to us that also listen to Time Suck. And then I have a couple of other ones. I listen to Making Sense, which is Sam Harris's. I also listen to a podcast that is interesting. It's called Unbelievable, but it's from the UK, and they bring in a scientist and a pastor, and they debate the existence of God from different angles.
I'm going to have to listen to that.
So it's actually really cool. But it's like, it's not just the existence of God from like the same thing. It's people who have an expertise in a specific area of study.
And it's called Unbelievable, right?
Yeah. Unbelievable with, I think the guy's name is Justin Brierley. Yeah. And it's a good show. I find that entertaining. Whenever I want something that's like intellectually challenging, that's what I'll listen to.
I'll have to listen to that. I like that shit.
And then the other one that I listen to the most is called Hello from the Magic Tavern. It is from the Chicago Podcast Cooperative and in partnership with the Chicago Improv. And it is a total improv based podcast that has the central premise of a man who is going through the Burger King drive-thru one day and then finds himself pass through a dimensional portal into basically a world where everything from Dungeons and Dragons is real. And they bring in different improv actors and actresses to be a random character.
Yeah, he is a nerd. Yeah, there's your proof right there.
It's really good. That podcast is very entertaining, and it's great for like light listening.
Do you like Doctor Who?
I do.
Nerd.
I haven't watched it.
Do you like Doctor Who?
since,
Yes. I mean, I have never seen it. I don't know.
I haven't watched it since David Tennant was the Doctor, and that was in like 2013. I just don't have.
Is it still going?
Really, I think so. Yes, because there's a lady doctor now.
That's. I thought I heard.
That's called a
about
gynecologist. Okay. All right. I've got a few. Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend is one that I've really enjoyed. Don't know if you guys have heard that one or not. Indianapolis-based Pete the Planner podcast is great. The West Wing Weekly, which we've talked about on here a few times. That one actually just ended. They chronicled the entire show, got to the end. So son of a bitch, there were no more West Wing, so they had to end their podcast too. It's kind of a seasonal one. The Dale Jr. download. Dale Jr. I didn't really care for him when he raced. That's a confession of mine. I didn't care that much, but
well, no one cares about racing.
He does a really good job of bringing people on that help you learn about the history of a sport, and I do appreciate some historical context of stuff and hearing old stories. And since I'm old enough to remember some stuff that happened in the early 2000s and the 90s, and I'm aware of stuff from
Where
the 70s.
were you 9/11?
I was at work, the same place I work right now.
I was in preschool.
I know. All right. Moving on. Moving on. He has a lot of people on. He's had Dave Marcus on and Harry Gant, just really cool old names. The interviews, that's the stuff I enjoy with him. Similar theme for Central Indiana, Leaders and Legends. Really enjoy that podcast. That's produced by Chris Spangle, but Robert Vane is the host of that. So if you want to hear about the formation of Indiana and a lot of the stuff that's happened here and what's made Indiana what it is in the last 30 or 40 years, Indiana and Indianapolis. That's a really good podcast. And there's folks from the sports world. There's folks from government, from the private sector, all across the spectrum. He's done a really good job of bringing folks on. And sometimes it's the people that are behind the scenes, not just, hey, yeah, this is the person that was mayor of the city, but it might be somebody that was very influential in making stuff happen. Like he had Allison Melangton on, who was one of the people that brought the Super Bowl to Indianapolis. She kind of led the charge. So a lot of the behind the scenes stories there. Of course, we always endorse the We're Libertarians Network podcasts. Brian Nichols has been doing a great job.
Who is that?
He's one of our co-hosts, or one of our other shows on the network, cohorts. And he does a really good job on the national level of interviewing folks. And then the mothership, We Are Libertarians, of course. Back on that racing side, Mark Martin podcast, same thing. Tickle's the same thing. He'll have people he raced against, kind of a seasonal deal, or he'll cover individual seasons and eras and give you insight into stuff that you had watched from a distance, and then he'll actually give you the inside scoop on what happened. Been listening lately to something called the RV Miles podcast, which is just a husband and wife talking about their rig and how they made the decisions to do what they do and traveling. And then all of a sudden one of them got sick along the way and it turned into a show about life. So that one's pretty cool. Then obviously Dinner with Racers and Marshall Pruitt. Those are the ones I look at all the time.
You listen to a lot of podcasts.
I drove 30,000 miles last year. I got time to consume them. All right, final thoughts from Kade.
Hold on.
Oh, you're still working on this.
I never did mine. You just spoke about the podcast you listened to for like an hour.
Yeah,
that was a tight
84 of them.
That was a tight 40 seconds.
All right, I'll try to be fast, Jeremiah. So earlier in my podcast, when I first started listening to podcasts, it was mainly sports. So I'd listen to Mike and Mike. I'd listen to a couple other, like Colin Cowherd, which I hated at first, and now I genuinely...
That elitist prick, Colin Cowherd.
I either really like his views or I completely hate him. But I used to just hate him. So
I used to love him, and now I hate him. So
see, we've moved in different directions.
But there was a time before the Magic Radio that I could only listen to the AM radio station, and
when I was living in Florida,
and that's all I could get.
When I was living in Florida, most of my friends were like, "Hey, man, you need to listen to this Part of My Take podcast," and it's from Barstool Sports, and I started listening to it. Like, they have sports and they cover some stuff seriously, but a lot of times they're making fun of shit. And like, it's a pretty funny podcast if you know stuff about sports. So that's probably my number one podcast. The other one's Joe Rogan. Everyone listens to Joe Rogan. I mean, Kade was like,
Is the most popular podcast in the world.
exactly. And for me personally, I don't like any of his fighting shit. And it's not like I don't like it, but I don't listen to most of it. I've listened to some of it.
The Fight Companion ones with Eddie Bravo were great.
But like if he has a scientist on or a celebrity or anything, I mean, he has anyone on his show.
There's content there for anybody.
Literally anything. Like I'll listen to that.
But he's a racist, so.
Very true.
And a transphobe.
It's funny because on Hulu, I have Hulu. I'll watch some of the old Fear Factor episodes.
Yeah.
And then you see pictures of him now. And it's just, he looks
weird.
so much, it's weird.
Go watch him on news radio and then see what he looks like now and go, oh my God.
There is an old clip from Chappelle's show, and it's Dave Chappelle, and he's walking around New York, and he's having Joe Rogan interview people, and this was, and he's like, "This is Joe Rogan from NBC's Fear Factor," and it's like, man, that aged perfectly.
Yeah.
So that's probably number 2 for me. Number 3 is, most people probably don't expect this because I'm kind of a badass and I do a lot of really terrible shit on the show. But number 3 for me is probably this church podcast called Faith and Fables. And they go deep into some subjects of theology, and I like that shit. I'm not gonna lie. When I listen to it,
I want to know how the devil's going to get me.
when I listen to it, it makes me feel like a terrible person sometimes. But they have a lot of good stuff.
I mean, between you going to Notre Dame all the time and listening to that podcast, you're probably saved.
My grandpa was a pastor. So anyways, it's probably my number 3. They have like, I don't know, 70 or 80 episodes at this point. And I've probably listened to all of them. And I mean, they cover a wide variety of everything on the Bible. They're still doing it. Number 4 for me is completely opposite. It's called Caller Daddy. And it's from Barstool Sports also. And it's basically about sex.
I can't stand that one.
See,
I don't know what it is. I can't listen to those girls.
Caller Daddy. Like, I like it because it's ridiculous.
They are so ridiculous, though. Like it's way over the top ridiculous.
They're way over the top, and they say some shit like you know how you're in the locker room, right? And boys will be like, "You got to grab her by the." They say stuff like way worse than that. Like I don't know. It's just I don't know. They're funny though.
Do you listen to that with Katie?
I've listened to it with Katie. She likes the podcast.
All right.
I mean, she doesn't probably listen to every episode, but mainly
It's
from
not a thing you'll do like driving.
Mainly
to date
from
night.
that episode, like they give sex advice, but they talk like really gross men.
Yeah.
That sounds like total. It sounds like a podcast that I would listen to and make me realize that civilization has been declining for years.
Yes. Yes.
100%.
Who listens to this stuff?
Yes,
Yeah.
but they're kind of funny.
I think the guys at The Fighter and the Kid, they had them come on for one episode, and that was where I found it. Just listening
probably.
to them, and then I went back and subscribed to their channel.
and you tried.
And I listened to a handful of them, and it's like, wow, I can't listen to these girls.
They just don't care what they say.
Yeah.
And they're honest. Like, I feel like a lot of girls think that way, but I don't know. Anyways, my other one's Ben Shapiro. I haven't listened to his podcast in a while because his voice annoys me.
People say the same thing about you on ours.
And no, that was Chris Guffey. He sounds like a squirrel. People just say they hate me talking about sports, which I understand because you're all fucking lame. Anyways, that's all the podcasts I listen to currently.
Well, thank you, Chase.
Kade, any
Big Farmer
final
Kade.
thoughts?
No, not really, I guess. Yeah, I'll pass it on to Dakota.
Yeah, I have nothing for this week. Can't even remember what my final thoughts were last week.
What about your baby? What's his name, by the way?
His name's Jackson.
Jackson. Is it from Michael Jackson?
Jackson.
Or is it Michael Jackson or is it Johnny Cash?
From Johnny Cash.
Okay, so he's a huge fan of Johnny Cash,
I am.
and he named the child Jackson River Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Walk the Line.
How many pounds?
Wait a minute. Walk the Line. Walk the Line was Joaquin Phoenix, and his brother was River. And here he is naming his baby Jackson River Davis. Johnny Cash song
Hold on.
Jackson. It's the brother of the guy that played Johnny
Walk
Cash.
Harder is John C. Reilly.
We were watching TV the other day. We were watching college football or basketball, and I can't remember the team, but there was a player and his last name was hyphenated, Jackson Davis. And Audrey was like, "Oh, that's hilarious." So she looked him up, and he was born on February 22nd.
Oh.
How crazy is that?
Oh,
Which, of
snap.
course, was the birth date. That is amazing.
20 hours labor. How'd that go?
And then the
Audrey's a
twin
real
sister,
trooper.
the twin sister that came along that nobody saw coming.
yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. Couldn't
Yeah.
believe that.
Couldn't believe you had to buy that second she shed. All right, this has been fun.
Wait, what?
We will catch
The
you
twin
all.
sister that came along. We're just putting her in the shed.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at wearelibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to wearelibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.